is, it's everything is changing so rapidly, and I can imagine someone like you who's been working with the AFM. I mean, I remember the times where the when movies, even just the industry was much slower. It took time for things to change. Now it's changing almost on a monthly standpoint. How are you seeing the industry change? How is it affecting the AFM?
Well, okay, we have about 3 or 4 hours for this one.
Of course.
The streaming services are creating a tectonic shift in the industry, and everybody knows this. What I'm saying isn't new, but maybe I can add some interesting perspective. They're doing a few things. First of all, this is a renaissance period for actors, for writers, for everybody who works in production, from cinematographers to set designers. There are more hours of film, both narrative and not, being made today than ever before. Everybody is working. That makes it an exciting time. It's also somewhat of a bubble. Um, Many of these streaming services are losing money. All of them are talking. I read today that Disney's going to be spending 15 million an episode on this show, 10 million an episode on that show. In the days of network television, when there were only 3 networks, even at today's dollars, 2 million an episode would have been a lot to reach 30 million people a night. Now they're spending huge amounts of money. And I'll talk for a minute about why that can actually work for them. But it still is a bit of a bubble because they're all going to be losing money for a while. And eventually, some common sense will come in, either shareholder driven or marketplace, and production will pull back a bit. But in the meantime, it's creating a renaissance environment for everyone except producers. And here's why. If you are a motion picture producer and your goal is to build a library, and actors, writers, directors, they get residuals. Their film plays forever. They've got a participation in that, for a long period of time to cover the lean years or the lean months. Producers don't. When you go to a platform like Netflix, they write a check, they buy you out, you see nothing. It is work for hire for you beyond that. Now, Netflix will say, to their credit, we're going to pay that producer more than the average film might earn. Not blockbuster, but not losing money as well. We're going to assume it does sort of okay, and that's what they're going to get paid, and it's going to be better than most. But they have no back end. They have no participation. Now they're just told, good luck, go find something else. We're not providing development funding. We're not, paying your rent for your home while you're trying to find the next package. Where a producer who can build a company through a library really has a way to help fund future film. And the big question mark for me is, where are those creators going to find those new exciting ideas? The creative process works best in small pockets. This is why even the studios, when they're producing 10, 12 pictures a year, one a month is about all you can do without creating another studio and another set of decision makers. It's why the music labels have offices all around the world, not because the music is different in Nashville versus Seattle, but you can only just there's only so much creativity that can come out of one group. And what's happening now is they're slowly strangling those who fund and take the risk, the entrepreneurs. It is slowly driving the entrepreneurs to extinction because these are the people who take risks. And this is the part, it's not going to happen in the near term. A lot of those entrepreneurs are happy getting their fees from Netflix. But I know multiple people who have had series at Netflix, for example, and they've done the first year, and Netflix says the only way we go forward with the second year is if we own it. We're buying you out, you have no participation, or there's no second year. It's all about owning the copyright. We've seen that some of I think Disney is slowly moving towards this, not having to deal with the profit participation definition, but rewarding based on certain milestones. This is worrisome for the producer. And I'm not trying to wave a big red flag, and maybe I'll be surprised and the marketplace or the creative producers will find a different model that keeps them healthy. But that's what worries me.
The interesting thing about Netflix, because obviously Netflix was the catalyst of all this. They're the first streaming service. They're the ones that really kind of changed basically the way business is done in Hollywood at this point. I always say that the difference between them and like someone like Disney Plus is that Disney Plus or Disney is a very diversified company. Netflix is not. Their entire the only revenue stream that they have, the majority of it, other than a few T-shirts for Stranger Things that they might sell, is subscriptions. So Disney can take that hit and can lose money on Disney Plus for years because they have so many other ancillary product lines and things, and they'll make more money on the T-shirts off of those shows, that $50 million an episode show, than they will off the show itself. So they have a different business model. I agree with you. I think there is a bubble. I think sooner or later there's going to be one of these giants that's just going to pop. It's just going to fall.
Well, let me add a perspective to this. First of all, Disney has said in 2020 they're going to lose about $4 billion in revenue that they would have otherwise collected had they not started Disney Plus. So they have to move quickly and they have to scale quickly, and they likely will. They've got the only brand. Disney is a brand. Warner Brothers is not a brand. Nobody says, I can't wait to go see a Warner Brothers film. Right. A Pixar film, a Disney film, a Lucas film.
Marvel, right?
Yes, Marvel. They understand that brands actually sell. Just like paying Tom Cruise a big number to be in a film because he sells, he can drive tickets. Those brands sell. The other brands, you don't rush off to a Paramount film. But there's something that Netflix understands that magazine publishers have understood for almost a century about the subscription model. And that is, with the magazines, the average consumer would retain their subscription if there were 2 sections in the publication that they wanted to get every week or every month, however often it came out. Not for the whole book, but for 2 sections. If there are 2 parts of that you wanted to see, usually the subscription was low enough that you would always retain it because you didn't want to do that. Netflix has followed that exact model, which is they want to have just enough of what you want, what I want, and what every single person around the world wants to say, yes, for my $10 a month, I don't want to lose that slice. Adam Sandler gets a 4-picture deal, and a lot of people in Hollywood roll their eyes and laugh. Netflix knows exactly what they're doing. There's an audience for everything, and their goal, they're not going to buy every doc, but they're going to buy enough doc that if docs are important to you, you will never give up your Netflix subscription. And so it doesn't matter that Netflix doesn't have the Disney brand because they are doing something different. Disney is saying, here's ESPN, here's Lucas, here's Marvel, here's our various pieces of content, and we think that most of the public wants at least one of them. Netflix is much broader in the sense of Disney Plus isn't going out with 100 docs every year. Netflix would be. And so they're taking the big book, 300-page magazine publisher's approach, which is we're going to have just enough of everything. Now, they also know that it's what's new that keeps people engaged as well. Very few of their series go more than 2 years, partially because the costs go up, partially because they know they don't lose subscribers when they cancel series, one day at a time.
Yeah, great show. I love that show.
Outcry, didn't matter. 2 years, they're done. They'll go on and on. But if they have the next new thing, it gives them something to market to drive new subscriptions. Their churn rate is low, and it's going to be interesting when we watch, a company owned by AT&T that's used to in its cell phone used to like a 1.5% churn per month, an 18 to 20% churn per year. If you had that at HBO, if you had that at Netflix, they'd be doomed. And so it's going to be interesting to see how those cultures work with each other. But I wouldn't sell Netflix short. Now, I don't mean you should go buy the stock because I have no clue where values are and something like that. But those who say Netflix is losing all of its content and nobody will want them anymore, they're missing the subscription model and really what is at the core of it that Netflix does understand.
Now, I mean, obviously, I remember last year when I was walking the halls, all I kept hearing was this term OTT. OTT, 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 streaming. It's everywhere. It's just rampant. It's like a virus that has infiltrated the AFM. Everyone's talking about it. But yet a lot of people aren't figuring out, like you were saying, how to make money with it, because DVDs was like you said, you made a $3 million horror movie, you threw it up on DVD and Blu-ray, you made your money back. It was just the market. Streaming is not like that. The profit margins aren't as big there. How
and there isn't the sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There isn't the competition. See, if you were selling a Blu-ray and you were looking at, and it was an action adventure and you were looking at Japan, there might be 6, 8, 10, 15 distributors who you could show it to. What's happened, and this is what I think a lot of the creative industry misses, is the growth of the platforms has really been about consolidation, and consolidation of channels to the consumer and consolidation of potential buyers. Now, who do you go to? When the Blu-ray buyers are gone, and you look at a streaming platform, and the number one streaming platform is Netflix, and there are two others, and that's it in a country. Suddenly, you don't have the ability to create an auction for your film. Suddenly, if 3 companies aren't interested, you're just out of luck. Now, maybe you go to an AVOD platform and hope you can, get a little bit of dough as there are ads playing against your film. But the scary part for the independent filmmaker is the consolidation that's happening. And while people would look at the AFM 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and say, who are all these people there? They're frankly the ones that were funding the thousands of independent films that were made because they knew how to find their audience. And what I'm hoping for, and we're doing a session at the AFM called The Rise of AVOD. What we're hoping for is that there actually become what I'll loosely call independent platforms. When we push aside Netflix and Disney and Peacock and some of the others, who is out there saying we don't need 50 million subscribers, we need 5 million? And we're going to pick up the films that others don't want, and we have a marketplace. And I think ultimately what we'll start to see is a slow growth of independent platforms. And what I'm most hoping for is that some technology provider, maybe it's Apple, maybe it's someone else, comes up with the over-the-top app, which allows you to say, here are my subscriptions that I have. I have Disney Plus, I have Netflix, whatever it is, and it organizes everything for you in one place. The consumer needs simplicity. We have so many examples of that. We all listen to music digitally, but a CD has much better quality. We all prefer to stream films, but a Blu-ray has much better quality. We actually prefer convenience, and we're willing to give up some things for that convenience. And somewhere there needs to be that app on your television that allows you to access everything you have rights to in one spot. The reason I mention this is then that small app, that small distributor has a place there, and it can be found along with everything else.